If there's one thing we all might have in common, it's that a Disney movie has probably made us cry at one point or another. They love to do it to us. They love to hurt our feelings. Thanks a lot. So with the abundance of these scenes that know how to turn on the waterworks, I thought that I would make a list of my top 10 tearjerker scenes. A couple of disclaimers. These scenes are only from movies released by Walt Disney Animation Studios. There won't be any Pixar on this list, but they definitely have more than enough of these scenes in their movies. I'll probably make a separate list for Pixar in the future. Lastly, these are my personal picks. I didn't try to be objective with this list. These are the scenes that have personally made me cry the most. There are lots of other scenes that are inarguably tearjerkers. They may have just not affected me as much. Let's start off with some honorable mentions. First, I want to talk about Cindy's dress. The reason this scene isn't on the list is because it's more disturbing to me than anything else. I don't know that it's ever made me cry, but when I think about the fact that the mice put so much care and effort into fixing up Cinderella's dress for her, only for this to happen to it, yeah, jail. Oliver and Company. When all the other kittens in the box get adopted and Oliver is left scared and alone in the rain, jail. Ralph breaks the internet. When Ralph and Vanellope say goodbye at the end of the movie, it's incredibly sweet.
I love you so much.
Their little waves get to me. Aladdin wishes for Genie's freedom. He initially said he'd use his last wish to set Genie free, and then revoke that statement for selfish reasons later on. In the end, he makes a really selfless move and wishes for Genie's freedom, rather than wishing he could still be with Jasmine. Even though the Sultan realized like 2 seconds later that he can just change the law, like whatever. This moment between Aladdin and Genie is emotional and sweet, and it's especially poignant after Robin Williams' passing. And then I have a few for Moana. When Grammatala dies, it's really sad, but when she comes back as a stingray and lights up the ocean, it's beautiful. I Am Moana. It's a combination of Grammatala appearing to Moana and then the following song. Moana's triumphant moment of self-actualization gives me chills and brings a tear to my eye. Then towards the end of the movie, when Maui's tattoo of Moana shows up and they hug goodbye, yeah. Last honorable mention. This one is sort of odd because it's really short and I never actually cry during it, but it makes me feel so bad. Like so bad. It deserves to be mentioned. In Bambi, when the pheasants are hiding from the hunter, and the one pheasant is so paranoid she tries to fly away and ends up getting shot. Jail. This is just straight up mean.
I am a victim of a hate crime.
That's not what a hate crime is.
Well, I hated it.
Okay, time for the actual list now. Number 10. Megara's death. To be honest, this one could be here based solely on the intensity and devastation in Herc's voice.
Meg! No!
But it is just straight up sad. Hercules cradling Meg's lifeless body. What really gets me is when you see Pegasus and Phil's reactions to this. They never even liked Meg for most of the movie, but they could see that she truly loved Hercules, and so they also mourn the loss of her. Luckily, Hercules is able to retrieve her soul and punch Hades in the face, so it's all good. Number 9. You're My Good Boy. First of all, Bolt is underrated. I don't like when everyone's always saying all these movies are underrated, but I truly believe Bolt is underrated. Second of all, this scene.
You're my good boy. I love you.
I've never owned a dog, so maybe I never really got the weight of this scene before, but a few years ago my sister got a dog, and even just from my experience with her, this scene is a different experience. So I imagine if you do own a dog, it would hold a lot of power. The unwavering loyalty that Bolt shows Penny, met by her fierce love for him in return. It's something special. And thankfully they make it out and don't burn alive. Number 8. Tadashi is here. Shout out to the scene where Hiro has to let Baymax go, but this is the scene from Big Hero 6 that gets me most. Hiro is on the verge of completely losing himself in his revenge quest, and Baymax shows him exactly what he needs. Seeing Tadashi again, hearing his voice, and being reminded of what his initial goal was when he tried so hard to create Baymax, it brings Hiro back and grounds him. Baymax is also serving Teletubby in this scene. Number 7. You Were My New Dream. Rapunzel and Eugene are one of the Disney couples that we got to spend the most time with. We got to follow them through meeting and actually getting to know each other, to falling in love. When Eugene is dying in Rapunzel's arms after sacrificing himself to save her, it's an extremely emotional scene. Rapunzel's disheartened attempt to heal him is just a jab to the heart. But for me, the waterworks don't come until Eugene quietly declares to Rapunzel,
"You were my new dream."
And she tells him the same.
And you were mine.
The callback to what he told her out on the boat is just gorgeous, and it's tragic in the moment. Good thing Eugene doesn't actually stay dead. Number 6. Snow White's funeral. The image of the 7 dwarfs gathered around Snow White's coffin weeping is incredibly sad, but there's one thing that really sets this scene apart, and that's Grumpy. He's the only character in the movie with a character arc, and this really shows it. He hated Snow White from the beginning, but he really came to care for her, hard as he tried to hide it. Here, he's crying harder than anyone else, and seeing this often causes me to follow suit. The emotional success of this scene on audiences back when the movie came out in 1937 is part of the reason the movie worked. People realized for the first time that cartoons had the power to move you. Number 5. Tarzan leaves the jungle. When Kala first sees Tarzan dressed in that suit, ugh. She knows he's made his choice, as much as she wishes it wasn't true. I'll just let the dialogue speak for itself.
No matter where I go, you will always be my mother.
And you will always be in my heart.
I do want to mention Kerchak's death scene because it is quite powerful when he finally accepts Tarzan as his son, but it doesn't compete with the Kala scene for me. Tarzan's relationship with his mother is such a strong element in the movie, and for me it carries much more emotional weight. Number 4. The Next Right Thing. The entire song, honestly. This is probably the darkest and most mature I've ever seen Disney get. Major props to Bobby Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez for writing this song, and Kristen Bell's delivery is just perfect. I was floored the first time I saw this in the theater. Some of these lyrics...
Hello, darkness. I'm ready to succumb.
Woof. This is Anna at rock bottom, believing she has lost everything. I so appreciate how they let her sit in her pain, but then she found a way to reframe her perspective and take little more manageable steps in order to carry on. When life is so overwhelming and you can't begin to know what to do, or if something like depression is making it hard to do anything at all, just try to do the next right thing, no matter how small. You'll get there. Number 3. Mulan returns home. So this is actually a happy one, but it's a huge tearjerker for me. When Mulan returns home, it is so loaded. There is so much to say, but she presents her tokens to her father, just hoping he'll accept them. What she gets is so much better. Fazu doesn't care at all about these items. He tosses them aside and takes Mulan in his arms. And please just try not tearing up at this line.
The greatest gift and honor is having you for a daughter. I've missed you so.
Don't look at me.
Number 2. Long Live the King. Here it is, the death of Mufasa. This is one of the more famous Disney tearjerker scenes, and while not all of the big examples make me cry,
I'm not like other girls.
this one sure does. Watching Mufasa fight so hard with zero hesitation to save Simba already sorta gets me. But then after he's betrayed by Scar and thrown to his death, Simba is left to find his body. And not only that, but he's made to believe it's his fault. Everything about this scene is sad, but in particular, Mufasa's bent whiskers get me. Something about him being such a majestic king, and seeing him laying there with messed up whiskers, I don't know. And also Simba working his way under Mufasa's lifeless paw to lay next to his father. Number 1. Tweed leaves Todd in the forest. Alright, we've reached number 1. And let me tell you, I knew this was number 1 before I even started making this list. This is not just my number 1 Disney tearjerker scene, it's my number 1 for any movie ever. I don't watch Fox and the Hound too often, but when I do, the floodgates open. For the entire duration of this scene, I just sit there with a constant stream of tears running down my face. This scene is the worst. I hate watching it so much. Amos Slade and his dogs. So obviously watching Widow Tweed drive Todd into the forest and leave him there is heartbreaking. He has no idea what's going on and his life changes in an instant. He's suddenly abandoned and left to fend for himself without the skills to do so. But when I watch this scene, I'm almost sadder on Widow Tweed's behalf. Let me preface this by saying I have old lady bias. I absolutely cannot handle watching old ladies experience misfortune of any kind. Widow Tweed lived alone before she found Todd and took him in. She raised him and loved him so much. And as much as she saved him, I think he was saving her as well. She must have been so lonely, and then she had this little piece of sunshine come into her life, and then Amos Slade and his dogs ruined everything. If you couldn't tell, I hate them. All 3 of them. Because they couldn't just behave themselves, Tweed was the one who had to make the sacrifice. The injustice of the entire situation enrages me, honestly. The birthday photo of Todd on the mirror, the lyric in the song.
And I found out I needed you too.
Jail. When Todd is confused after Tweed carries him into the forest and he tries following her as she leaves. You know what? Death penalty. I'm not sure why this scene above all others makes me sob like a member of my family just died, but it's probably the worst thing in existence, and it fully deserves to be at the top of this list. But hey, that's just me. I'm sure we all have different scenes that hit us the most emotionally. If you agree with my list, let me know. Or if you have different scenes you would put on your own list, I'd love to hear what they are. It's Disney, so there's a lot to choose from. Thanks so much for watching, especially if you made it through my Fox and the Hound rant. I'll be making more ranked lists in the future, so watch out for those if you liked this one. I also have Disney trivia and analysis videos that you can find on my channel. If you like this content, consider hitting like or subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks, and see you next time.